Hello and welcome to Bunky's Workshop. Today we're going to do a unboxing, and this is to replace a coffee maker that we used in the morning that was making 1 cup at a time. And we found that it was after a year, which is a pretty short life for a coffee maker, that it was breaking, and it would especially flood and make big mess of coffee or water grounds, and that's a terrible nightmare to wake up to in the morning. So Craig found the Zojirushi coffee maker, and instead of a single cup coffee maker, it will make up to 4 cups at a time. And hopefully, this will be a much more successful coffee maker for us. Craig told me it's the same brand as the bread machine, Zojirushi, that he, I think, on the channel has also shown how to make bread and so forth. So he's already familiar with this brand, and I think has some confidence in it.
So it is a Zutto Zojirushi 4-cup coffee maker. And yes, he's right. So if you go back into my videos, you'll see that I did a video on the Zojirushi bread machine, which is absolutely our favorite. So I figured that's been lasting a while and we love it. Why not try the coffee maker? So here we go.
For whatever it's worth, Craig and I have different tastes in making coffee. I like an extremely dark brew. Craig calls it mud. And Craig prefers a lighter brew in the morning. We both get our brews from Dunkin' Donuts, but I prefer the Midnight brand, and Craig likes the original blend. Um, Interestingly, I always thought that by drinking the darker blend coffee that it had more caffeine. It was the more robust, manly coffee. But I realized that the roasting burns out caffeine. So Craig's coffee is actually the high octane coffee, whereas mine is the
Wimpy coffee.
wimpy coffee.
So here is the glass carafe. It is labeled, let's see. What is that? I don't have my glasses on.
Okay, so it's labeled 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, but you have to remember these are small cups. So if you drink out of a large coffee cup, you might only get 2 cups out of here versus the 4 or 5 small cups.
For example, here's the mug that we use. So it will be almost a mug and a half about putting them by each other.
So you have the lid, which has the separator here for the water as it's percolated or dripped. You have the basket, which holds a #2 filter, which you can get at your local grocery store. And of course, instructions. Now, I already read part of the instructions, and it said one important thing is this lip here must be on this lip here when pouring. So they just said that's important. And they also said that the hand wash all this, that it's really not dishwasher safe. So we got that. On here, you have a lid. And here's what I liked about this. It has a reservoir where you can fill it up and put it in there. Or you can leave the reservoir within the coffee maker and just fill it up with the carafe. It's your choice. I'm going to try it both ways and to see what I like better.
And the reservoir is marked for hot coffee, 0 to 5, I'm sorry, 1 to 5 rather, and then for those who like iced coffee. So it looks like it's kind of caught up with the trend of those who enjoy drinking iced
if
coffee.
you can see that, see what he was talking about? There you go. So that fits in here nicely.
Has its own scoop that will help to measure appropriately for the device.
So here's what it looks like up close. So you have your measurements for your water, which is the same measurements as Matt said for the reservoir. You have a vent here for steam. You have your on and off switch. And of course, your warming plate for your coffee. It's in like a silver gray, and you have your plug as well.
And that's a decent length plug. One thing that we've seen in our coffee makers is if you're not careful, you could get an extremely short wire, and that can inhibit where you want to put your coffee maker. So this gives you plenty of freedom to decide where you want conveniently to put your coffee maker.
So I did stop by the store today at our local food line to get our #2 cone filters. Now, in the instructions, which I read online last night, they tell you a certain way that they really want you to put these in. So they want you to fold this side down on the line and then fold the bottom where it looks like that, and then open it up and insert.
Who knew? Most people would just open the
Fit.
filter itself.
And then you would have it, and it does fit really nice that way. Now, I'm not going to do coffee, but I am going to run some water through as a test. So let's see.
And Craig aligned the lid of the carafe in the way that they indicated to align it, because that was a specific requirement in the instructions. We're filling the water into the reservoir.
So I do have it full all the way up to 5 cups.
It has a very convenient loop or handle so that you can move the reservoir back and forth to your sink. I just like the design. It's very sleek. I think it's smooth and it's an attractive design.
So here we go. So I am going to time this. You have your phone?
Not ready to hand. It is 3:08.
So it is 3:08. We're going to time to see how long it takes to brew 5 cups. So start it now, because it just clicked. So all we'll do, oh, there it goes.
Okay, so that was 10 seconds from the click.
It is very quiet, of course.
That's something you want for a coffee maker in the morning. You're waking up and you don't need a lot of noise.
So here's something that I used to do when I lived alone and in my apartment. I wanted the coffee to be ready for me when I woke up. I didn't want to have to set it all up. And I didn't want to spend the money on an expensive coffee machine that had a timer on it. So I went and bought a plug-in timer and plugged it in so that it would turn on in the morning and make my coffee when I woke up.
So the timer then was with the plug rather than with, so you just left the coffee maker on and the electricity would come out of the wall.
And for me, at that point, at 7 a.m., the timer would click, it would turn on the coffee maker. By the time I got out of the shower, my coffee was ready. So you can make any coffee machine kind of automatic if you want.
And as Craig said, the coffee makers with timers add an expense that you can dodge.
Now, I found this online, and I believe it was about $80. So I think that is kind of pricey, but the warranty and the quality build, and this has also been tested. If you know anything about coffee machines, the basic ones that are like Sunbeam, Mr. Coffee, those kinds of things, Proctor Select, your basic ones you get at your like local Walmart, they're okay. With Zojirushi is on the same line as your Technovorm German models. So they are built well and made at a specific standards, that the water coming out is a certain temperature and the plate that holds it at a certain temperature. When they combine together, it makes your coffee at a certain temperature to extract the most from your coffee grounds. So if it's done right, your coffee should not be bitter. It should be a very smooth coffee. I got a gnat. A very smooth coffee.
There are those who are so serious about their coffee that they will monitor the temperature of the boiling water or the water going into the grounds or the plate maintaining the warmth of the coffee carafe. So we're not nearly that savvy about coffee, but that's the option with this particular model.
Yeah, you don't want a coffee machine to pour the hot water over the coffee so fast you're not extracting the oils and the flavor from your grounds. You want it to go slow enough to moisten the grounds, extract the oil and the coffee from the grounds, and leave you a smooth flavor. If it goes too slow, you can also get a very oily, heavy, bitter coffee because it has sat so long, it's now like overdone. So there's a lot of science into these coffee machines. Now we do have downstairs a Technovorm, and they're very expensive. They're high quality, and the problem is we don't drink the same coffee. You do the strong, I do the original. So something that makes 8 or 10 cups of coffee wasn't working for us. So that's why we did the single serve. But the single serve took a dive.
That particular model didn't work out for us.
So this, since it will, for us, and the amount that it looks like it's kicking out, would probably give us, because we normally drink 2 cups in the morning each. This will probably be 2 cups. But again, you use French press now, and if that's what you're happy with, cool. If not,
it has now been 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm sorry, rather 4 minutes, 30 seconds. And we have over the mark for 4 on the carafe. So it is roughly about a cup per minute.
right, I think I read online that most people said it took up to 5 minutes to perk 5 cups of coffee.
It has been 5 minutes.
And we're just hitting the 5 mark.
And
So
remember, we started a little bit off on the timing.
now, with this being I mean, I don't think $80 is a ton of money as some of the prices. The Technovorm runs anywhere from $400 to $600. I think that's a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
With this being $80, what are your thoughts? If we like this, we have 2. And you would have yours for yours, and I would have mine for mine. And you would brew yours all at one time and have your cup. I'd brew mine all at one time. They're small.
Well, when I am at school, I wake up usually an hour or two before Craig. So I could have my coffee and be done with it altogether and clean the coffee maker before Craig gets up. As it happens, I'm on summer break now, and so Craig and I are waking up at more similar times, and therefore we're overlapping a little bit more. So it would probably ebb and flow in use. So we're looking at about 6.5 minutes now. And it seems like it's gurgling to indicate that it's kind of
It just finished. Yeah.
finished up. So yeah, I would say about 6.5 minutes altogether, roughly, because we had a oopsie beginning the timer.
So here is my wonderful cup. We bought this on a vacation, didn't we? We were going to, what were we were doing? And we wanted our own coffee in our room, and we went to the local grocery store, and they had a Starbucks.
I think we were visiting Colleen, or that was in, um, was it a wedding? One of the weddings?
Yes, it was. It was a wedding, and we stayed overnight.
We stayed overnight and were clearly unhappy with the
So we
hotel
ended
coffee.
up getting these, and these are made out of recycled materials from Starbucks. But I got the terracotta, And where's yours?
Behind you.
So I got the terracotta, and Matthew got the bone white and brown.
Guess I'm not cleaning it well enough.
So it looks like it has stopped. Let's just see how much liquid is in there.
So Craig filled the reservoir pretty much to the top. And we can see that it fills his cup. And there is some left over, certainly not 2 cups, given the size of his coffee mug.
So if we use this cup, it's making one large cup with a little bit left over.
Well, then it is effectively another single cup maker.
Unless we use smaller cups.
So that filled it up about
A quarter.
a quarter of the way. So that'll probably give us 2.5 cups if we should make it twice.
So the thing is, if I were to go back to our original coffee cups, right? Would that be 2 of the regular?
This coffee mug is 16 fluid ounces.
I don't know. Does it say on the bottom?
And this one, no, it doesn't indicate. My guess is probably close to 8.
So let's see. So what does that give us?
On the carafe, it will measure to,
That is your 2 cups.
yeah, about 5.
So if you went to that, you would have 2 cups instead of just one big cup.
But you'd be drinking less coffee. I mean, aren't you kind of at a certain level of
I think as
drinking
long as
coffee
it's,
amount?
if it's that little bit less, I think 2 cups for me would be 2 cups.
Okay.
For you, if you want to do that, go for it, or do the smaller, which either way, I mean.
I'm kind of the opinion that the coffee maker should serve how I drink coffee rather than adjust how I drink coffee in order to adjust myself to the coffee maker. But we can see how it plays out.
Should I put coffee in it? See what happens?
Sure. You want a cup of coffee right now?
Well, not right this second, but let's see what happens. Let's taste it.
It was important at least to rinse the coffee maker before we make our first cup coffee that we would drink, because who knows what chemicals they use to prepare and so forth. So,
Not a sponsor.
that's Craig's original blend. He likes the morning blend coffee rather than the midnight blend. One thing that I do like about this is the previous coffee maker, which was a single cup. You'd have to take your cup coffee, pour it into the reservoir, and then have it cycle through the coffee maker. And as you see, Craig, because it uses a filter and so forth, took the empty carafe and put it there and was able to take the reservoir out of the coffee maker, which I think is a convenience rather than having to pour over the coffee reservoir or have to use the carafe and then replace it. Because, frankly, sometimes when you're half asleep, it's really easy to forget to put the carafe back in. So, if there's nothing there to catch the coffee, you've got a massive mess to clean up without even having your morning coffee to wake up.
All right.
Am I timing this?
Go for it. And it just started. So we'll just add an extra 2 seconds.
Okay.
I see coffee.
For what it's worth, also, Craig and I do differ in how we take our coffee. I take my coffee black, and Craig adds cream and sugar. And the reason that's relevant is because, of course, you have to allow in your coffee mug a little room so that you can add your cream and sugar as well. So that may play into the
And
amount of
you,
coffee you're brewing.
yeah, but are you drinking coffee for the flavor and to enjoy, or are you drinking coffee for caffeine?
No, I'm drinking it to wake up in the morning.
So not really for flavor. You just want the caffeine.
Largely, I mean,
So if
but
it's
then I
not the,
become accustomed to the flavor. But um, I was originally drinking the dark roast, thinking that it was higher caffeine content. That was my mistake.
well, then why wouldn't you go to the original blend, get more of the caffeine to wake up, and just get the big coffee maker that does 8 or 10 cups, and we just use the same machine?
Well, because we just have this now, so this is what we'll be using for the time being. And I imagine it'll take a little bit of time to get used to the routine of drinking a different flavor coffee in the morning.
I think you like boiling your water in French press. I think you enjoy that process and sitting down and drinking it that way versus making 1 cup at a time.
Well, the advantage of the French press for me is that it will brew the 2 cups that I drink.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to return to the coffee maker to make another cup. So once brewed, now it does take time, and we've discussed. For some reason, I was raised always to use cold water when you're boiling water, even though it will take longer, obviously. But it does take longer for the water to boil and then to brew before you pull down the plunger of your French press. And then by then the water it's still almost boiling, so you have to allow even more time to let the coffee cool down so it's potable. So ultimately, what I'm saying is, with the French press, you're getting coffee into your system slower than if you would do this,
Now,
even though I think it's a more robust taste.
the
And yeah, I do like
downside is you're putting boiling water over your grounds, which could diminish not only the flavor, but your oils could be burnt off, and you're really not extracting everything out of it. So it might be easier because you're doing it all one time. You can sit down, drink 2 cups without getting up again. But the process, I don't know if you're getting whether you're getting a full extract or over extracting to where then you're going to get a bitter flavor, less caffeine because it's been boiled. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people online that love French press, but there's a special kettle that they use that brings the water right up to the exact temperature you're supposed to use for coffee, and they pour over, and then they let it steep, they set a timer and it steeps so long, and then they hit the plunger, then they drink it. It's this whole process and math that they do. They weigh their coffee. Well, they grind the coffee, weigh the coffee, put the coffee in the French press. They turn on their machine. The machine brings up to exact temperature. They pour it over. They set the timer because it steeps for X amount of time. Then they hit the plunger and drink it. A lot of process.
well, and that's an awful lot to manage when you're trying to wake up and you're in your caffeine haze anyway. But I used to grind my coffee, if you remember. Craig even bought me a coffee grinder. What a mess that made coffee grounds everywhere. And it was noisy. And I wake up so early in the morning that I didn't want to make that kind of noise and wake Craig up. But um, I did think that, yeah, it was much more, the coffee beans were fresher ground and made a robust taste. but I don't think I need to get the exact temperature. That's a little too much for me in the morning. I boil the water until it's a rolling boil and then pour it over. I try to eyeball about 4 minutes. I am not interested in timing it. I think that's
Well, you have
more.
those, what would you call them? Coffee connoisseurs, or what would you call those people besides just snotty coffee people? I don't know what you'd call them, but I like mine a certain way. It doesn't have to be exact, but I don't like bitter, and I don't like that really strong bite. I don't like the strong coffees. I like a smooth, um, creamy coffee, I guess.
Well, you're right. I mean, there are people who taste coffee every bit as discerning as wine tasters. And yes, I think a good cup of coffee, maybe after supper, as a refreshing drink, is delicious. Having said that, my goal is to caffeinate myself in the morning, and so
So when you're drinking your coffee in the morning, are you really enjoying it, or are you just like, please caffeine kick in?
more in the please caffeine kick in direction.
For me, coffee is more of a relaxing, soothing thing. I like the flavor. I like the warmth, and to me, coffee is very soothing. It's not very awakening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're coming at it from two different points of view, and I mean, I'm kind of stumbling out of bed into the kitchen, trying to wake up with my cup of coffee. And so years ago, with the mistaken thought that the dark roast was higher caffeine content, started with that and just became accustomed to it. And here we are. But I suppose I could probably come round to the original blend. It just might take a
Well,
bit of an adjustment. And we
I
just bought 2 pounds of the midnight, so I have to go through that.
well, at the end of the
I can't
day,
switch today.
you drink the coffee that you like for the reasons you like. No one says you have to drink what I drink. At the end, it's done.
So the timer says 7 minutes 40 seconds for the cup that Craig is making.
So, what we'll do,
In fact, I think we were not attentive with the timer, so it may be even shorter than 7 minutes 40 seconds. Another difference is when I make coffee. Again, usually I drink it black, but once in a blue moon, if I put cream and sugar in it, I put the cream and sugar in first and then the coffee.
so you drink black coffee. This is going to be a little bit weak, I think.
I think that has a robust flavor, and but I think there's some bitterness to it.
So I drink my coffee with one little thing of sugar. Ooh. And then I use a little bit of French vanilla cream.
Until it matches the skin tone.
So give that a try and tell me what you think.
The cream certainly cuts the bitterness that I tasted at first, and the sugar sweetens it. So I'm not sure I would say soothing, but it is certainly um, there is a mild bitterness, and it is robust, and um, it does strike me as it has a strength to it.
Yeah, I think this is making it a little bit stronger than what that other machine did. I think the other machine poured the water and did it so quick. Remember, we'd get a cup of coffee really fast, but I don't think it actually steeped. I don't think it really got all the flavor out of the grounds. I think this is taking its time longer and allowing it to. Well, I mean, we can see the saturation.
And also, the
See?
single cup did not have a filter. This has a filter, which
Right.
also makes a difference.
So I think it makes a good cup of coffee. I would have to back off on my grounds a little bit because to me, this is a little bit stronger than what the other machine did.
I sense that it was a bit stronger too. And without the cream and sugar, it was strikingly better, I think.
So overall, what's your opinion on the Zojirushi Zutto coffee machine?
Well, it takes about 7.5 minutes to make, for this size, 2 cups coffee
2 cups or one large?
for a large. So, given that, uh, effectively, I don't want to go to a smaller cup, so I'm going to maintain my mug. So, effectively, for me, it would be still a single cup maker. And
And for me, 2 cups is 2 cups. So I just think if I went with the regular, my old cup as I had before, I would just do two of these, or just use the 1 cup and just have one big cup. But I mean, but like you said, out of habit, I do like having 2 cups in the morning. So if I want to keep that habit, I might be drinking a little bit less coffee, but I would still have, and this is stronger. So I might be drinking 2 smaller cups, but 2 stronger cups. Does that make sense?
yes, I am wary of the bitterness that I tasted because I drink my coffee black. So that would be a concern for me. Noting, however, as I say that I didn't use my grounds, the midnight grounds. But if we use the midnight grounds, then conceivably it would probably be even more bitter. So,
You think your coffee, what's it called, midnight?
Dunkin'
Do you
Midnight.
think that has a bitterness to it as well?
I just always assume, since it is a darker roast, that the flavors are more robust. So I was just extrapolating, if the original blend black is bitter, then I was guessing that the dark blend with more robust flavors would be even more bitter. But
I don't think I've ever tasted your coffee after it was brewed. So maybe at some time I will just play around with this and brew your coffee and just see what it tastes like and compare it to what this is.
yeah, I one of the differences between Craig and me is also extremes in taste. That I like very, very dark coffee. Um, and I remember that time when we were at Buddy's and you tried the Guinness, and that was too much for you. Or I liked my bourbon, and that was a very strong. And Craig likes more refined and tastes that are
Smooth.
more smooth and subtle. And different strokes for different folks.
Yep. So, with that being said, here we are. So far, we're going to continue testing this and find out whether it's a like or dislike, whether we ship it back or whatever we're going to do. But at least I can wake up with a cup of coffee because the other machine I was using was just a bit rough.
We've had about 3 very bad mornings with the dying coffee maker, the dying single cup, and then Craig was using a camping coffee maker that also he was struggling with. So we're looking forward to a much more peaceable morning.
Wake up
Waking up.
without all the words. Whether it was a half a cup of coffee, no cup of coffee, or coffee all over the counter and floor, or just blinking lights at you.
You don't want to have to deal with that in the morning. You just
No.
want to caffeinate and awaken and then face your day.
Yes. So with that being said, I want to say thank you for coming along and joining in our little unboxing of the Zojirushi Zutto coffee maker. Until then, have a great day and
Please subscribe
uh,
or ring the bell
uh,
or like or comment about or give thumbs up to
or that one.
2 for 3 is not bad. That's a meatloaf reference.
There you go. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming along. Talk to you soon.